Indian farmers protesting new agricultural laws are facing yet another obstacle in their attempt to get their message out on social media. Many have become victims of what is called shadow banning. To explain what that is and how it works, we're joined now by social media expert Jesse Miller. Jesse, good morning to you. Thanks for taking the time.
Good morning, me too.
So first off, for those who don't know, could you quickly give us a rundown of what shadow banning is?
Yeah, on all social media platforms, there are avenues of maybe censoring content or controlling content. And sometimes what we see is that when either a hashtag or a certain account is flooding the social media space with items that either may violate the terms of service or is getting reported content where users themselves are seeing something and actively flagging it, you may see a person's post not necessarily available to all of their audience, or actually being posted in a time hindrance where the post goes up, but then it's actually made available to their followers or the general public a period of time afterward.
Now, Jesse, local organizers of solidarity events in support of farmers in India have now shifted their scheduled protest on Sunday afternoon to being outside the offices of Facebook. From what you've seen, what impact has shadow banning had on the efforts to raise awareness about the farmers' protest?
So in India, primarily, we've seen a huge increase of the use of Instagram in the past 18 months, and that correlated with the ban of TikTok in India about 14 months ago. But interestingly enough, I mean, Instagram is owned by Facebook, so is WhatsApp. And so the concern with shadow banning is not necessarily whether or not the platform itself is shadow banning content, but whether or not we have outside actors who are targeting hashtags or users themselves. So every protest deserves a fair equal voice, but the reality of it is Facebook is not a public platform in the sense that it is a private company. So there are aspects of it that will be regulated. And so for Facebook to operate in a country, they have to work with governments. So there are these concerns that shadow ban content is either part of a government approach, a state approach, or whether or not you start to see outside actors who are actively trying to take good hashtags that raise awareness and very much make them something that are flagged, removed, or highlighted as a concern for the platform to look at.
In terms of how much this could hurt or efforts to raise awareness about issues, how has shadow banning hindered large social media campaigns in the past, and is it ever determined who's behind it?
Yeah, I mean, the first large hashtag that was used on social media to really raise awareness was during the Arab Spring protests about a decade ago. But realistically, every cause does deserve its own advocacy, and that advocacy usually does go with hashtags. So what we see here are these outside groups that potentially flood it, whether it be Black Lives Matter, whether it be raising concern around any issue in a community. But the reality here is that you have to really identify whether or not it's a group or an individual. And the problem here becomes that you do have individuals who make themselves available for hire. You start to see groups that become more and more divisive because there are conspiracy beliefs as well behind these concepts. But realistically, the platforms themselves should be looking at seeing whether or not there are individuals who are flooding the market and trying to make a hashtag more toxic than it actually is.
Fascinating stuff. All right, social media expert Jesse Miller joining us this morning. Jesse, thank you so much as always.
Thank you for having me, Nitu.